Today, court is back in session in what's likely the last week of testimony in Donald Trump's criminal trial here in New York City.
Donald Trump arrived at court this morning, flanked by supporters and members of the GOP, has been his style lately. He addressed reporters, calling the trial selective prosecution.
Today is expected to be former Trump attorney Michael Cohen's final day on the stand. He's the only person that has testified Trump had personal knowledge of a scheme to falsify business records to cover up a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels so far. Prosecutors say this, in turn, was a form of election interference.
CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa is following this from Lower Manhattan for us. Bob, thanks for being with us. Has Cohen been on the stand this morning? And if so, do we have takeaways from the testimony so far?
Indeed, we do. Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, continues to dig into Cohen's credibility, questioning whether he is really someone the jury should take seriously, asking about different aspects of Cohen's interactions with the Trump organization over the years, discussions about whether Cohen stole from the Trump organization through different transactions he had in business payments. And this is all about Trump's legal team in the cross-examination, raising doubts about whether Cohen can be the linchpin for the prosecution.
So, Bob, what, if you wouldn't mind, walk us through what the timeline will be before verdict, between now and then?
So in the coming days, we expect the prosecution to be redirected in some way to say they're resting their case. And that means that the prosecution will effectively say they're calling no more witnesses. We're still waiting to see whether Trump's lawyers will call additional witnesses. There has been talk about bringing in so-called expert witnesses to talk about election and campaign finance law. It's not clear at this moment whether the Trump team is going to do that. It's also unclear whether Trump himself will take the stand. Sources close to Trump's legal team tell CBS News they do not expect Trump to take the stand at this moment. Of course, with everything revolving the former president, those discussions are somewhat fluid. But it is seen as a bit of a risk legally to have Trump sitting there having to talk under oath about a lot of sensitive potential personal issues and personal questions. So at this point, this could wrap up this week. And Judge Juan Merchan has said earlier today that he expects in some way closing arguments to happen next week.
You know, Bob, you touched on it there briefly, but since Donald Trump has said he'd be happy to testify, he would want to testify, but then, of course, there's a long list of things he said he's willing to do that then don't happen. What are the pros and the cons, if you could break them down for us, of him potentially taking the stand?
Well, the pros, it's not about pros, but the upside for Trump, as I'm told by his allies, is that if he testifies, he could try to control the narrative of this case to some extent, to define it on his terms rather than having Michael Cohen's testimony serve as the crucial piece of evidence in this case. Trump would want his word to counter Cohen's. At the same time, if you lie under oath in any way, if you meander under oath into territory where you're not exactly certain about the truth, you're under the risk and the threat of perjury. And that's a serious, serious charge. And so there's real risk about taking the stand if you're not confident you're going to stay within the lanes of the truth.
Robert Costa, thank you.